Chapter 6 of The Bat. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Alan Winterowd. The Bat by Mary Roberts Reinhardt. Chapter 6. Detective Anderson takes charge. What's that? Somebody smashed a window pane and threw in a stone. Wait a minute, The doctor, all alert at once, ran into the alcove and jerked at the terrace door. It's bolted at the top, too, called Miss Cornelia. He nodded, without wasting words on a reply, unbolted the door, and dashed out into the darkness of the terrace. Miss Cornelia saw him run past the French windows and disappear into blackness. Meanwhile Dale, her listlessness vanished before the shock of the strange occurrence, had gone to the broken window and picked up the stone. It was wrapped in paper. There seemed to be writing on the paper. She closed the terrace door and brought the stone to her aunt. Miss Cornelia unwrapped the paper and smoothed out the sheet. 2 lines of coarse, round handwriting sprawled across it. Take warning. Leave this house at once. It is threatened with disaster which will involve you if you remain. There was no signature. Who do you think wrote it? Asked Dale breathlessly. Miss Cornelia straightened up like a ramrod, indomitable. A fool, that's who. If anything was calculated to make me stay here forever, this sort of thing would do it. She twitched the sheet of paper angrily. But something may happen, darling. I hope so. That's the reason She stopped. The doorbell was ringing again, thrilling, insistent. Her niece started at the sound. Oh, don't let anybody in, she besought Miss Cornelia as Billy came in from the hall with his usual air of walking on velvet. Key. Front door, please. Bell ring, he explained tersely, taking the key from the table. Miss Cornelia issued instructions. See that the chain is on the door, Billy. Don't open it all the way, and get the visitor's name before you let him in. She lowered her voice. If he says he is Mr. Anderson, let him in and take him to the library. Billy nodded and disappeared. Dale turned to her aunt, the color out of her cheeks. Anderson? Who is Mr. Miss Cornelia did not answer. She thought for a moment, then she put her hand on Dale's shoulder in a gesture of protective affection. Dale, dear, you know how I love having you here, but it might be better if you went back to the city. Tonight, darling? Dale managed a wan smile, but Miss Cornelia seemed serious. There's something behind all this disturbance, something I don't understand, but I mean to. She glanced about to see if the doctor was returning. She lowered her voice. She drew Dale closer to her. The man in the library is a detective from police headquarters, she said. She had expected Dale to show surprise, excitement, but the white mask of horror which the girl turned toward her appalled her. The young body trembled under her hand for a moment like a leaf in the storm. Not the police, breathed Dale in tones of utter consternation. Miss Cornelia could not understand why the news had stirred her niece so deeply. But there was no time to puzzle it out. She heard crunching steps on the terrace. The doctor was returning. Shh, she whispered. It isn't necessary to tell the doctor. I think he's a sort of perambulating bedside gossip, and once it's known the police are here, we'll never catch the criminals. When the doctor entered from the terrace, brushing drops of rain from his no longer immaculate evening clothes, Dale was back on her favorite settee, and Miss Cornelia was poring over the mysterious missive that had been wrapped about the stone. He got away in the shrubbery, said the doctor disgustedly, taking out a handkerchief to fleck the spots of mud from his shoes. Miss Cornelia gave him the letter of warning. Read this, she said. The doctor adjusted a pair of pince nez, read the 2 crude sentences over once, twice. Then he looked shrewdly at Miss Cornelia. Were the others like this? He queried. She nodded. Practically. He hesitated for a moment, like a man with an unpleasant social duty to face. Miss Van Gorder, may I speak frankly? Generally speaking, I detest frankness, said that lady grimly, but go on. The doctor tapped the letter. His face was wholly serious. "I think you ought to leave this house," he said bluntly. "Because of that letter? Humph!" His very seriousness, perversely enough, made her suddenly wish to treat the whole matter as lightly as possible. The doctor repressed the obvious annoyance of a man who sees a warning, given in all sobriety, unexpectedly taken as a quip. "There is some deviltry afoot," he persisted. "You are not safe here, Miss Van Gorder." But if he was persistent in his attitude, so was she in hers. "I've been safe in all kinds of houses for 60-odd years," she said lightly. "It's time I had a bit of a change. Besides," she gestured towards her defenses, "this house is as nearly impregnable as I can make it. The window locks are sound enough, the doors are locked, and the keys are there." She pointed to the keys lying on the table. "As for the terrace door you just used," she went on, "I had Billy put an extra bolt on it today. By the way, did you bolt that door again?" She moved toward the alcove. "Yes, I did," said the doctor quickly, still seeming unconvinced of the wisdom of her attitude. "Miss Van Gorder, I confess I'm very anxious for you. This letter is ominous. Have you any enemies?" "Don't insult me. Of course I have. Enemies are an indication of character." The doctor's smile held both masculine pity and equally masculine exasperation. He went on more gently. "Why not accept my hospitality in the village tonight?" he proposed reasonably. "It's a little house, but I'll make you comfortable. Or," he threw out his hands in the gesture of one who reasons with a willful child, "if you won't come to me, let me stay here." Miss Cornelia hesitated for an instant. The proposition seemed logical enough. More than that, sensible, safe. And yet, some indefinable feeling, hardly strong enough to be called a premonition, kept her from accepting it. Besides, she knew what the doctor did not, that help was waiting across the hall in the library. "Thank you, no, Doctor," she said briskly, before she had time to change her mind. "I'm not easily frightened, and tomorrow I intend to equip this house with burglar alarms on doors and windows," she went on defiantly. The incident, as far as she was concerned, was closed. She moved on into the alcove. The doctor stared at her, shaking his head. She tried the terrace door. "There, I knew it," she said triumphantly. "Doctor, you didn't fasten that bolt." The doctor seemed a little taken aback. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "You only pushed it part of the way," she explained. She completed the task and stepped back into the living room. "The only thing that worries me now is that broken French window," she said thoughtfully. "Anyone can reach a hand through it and open the latch." She came down toward the settee where Dale was sitting. "Please, Doctor." "Oh, what are you going to do?" said the doctor, coming out of a brown study. "I'm going to barricade that window," said Miss Cornelia firmly, already struggling to lift one end of the settee. But now Dale came to her rescue. "Oh, darling, you'll hurt yourself. Let me." And between them, the doctor and Dale moved the heavy settee along until it stood in front of the window in question. The doctor stood up when the dusty task was finished, wiping his hands. "It would take a furniture mover to get in there now," he said airily. Miss Cornelia smiled. "Well, Doctor, I'll say good night now, and thank you very much," she said, extending her hand to the doctor, who bowed over it silently. "Don't keep this young lady up too late. She looks tired." She flashed a look at Dale, who stood staring out at the night. "I'll only smoke a cigarette," promised the doctor. Once more his voice had a note of plea in it. "You won't change your mind?" he asked anew. Miss Van Gorder's smile was obdurate. "I have a great deal of mind," she said. "It takes a long time to change it." Then, having exercised her feminine privilege of the last word, she sailed out of the room, still smiling, and closed the door behind her. The doctor seemed a little nettled by her abrupt departure. "It may be mind," he said, turning back toward Dale, "but forgive me if I say I think it seems more like foolhardy stubbornness." Dale turned away from the window. "Then you think there is really danger?" The doctor's eyes were grave. "Well,